I just wanted to hop on here to digest what we think about natural disasters anymore. Um, Natural disasters, are they man-made, mother-made, God-made? I think those are three categories that we can put natural disasters into. First, we have like weather control, right? We have the manipulation of an environment. Obviously, if a government builds a dam and they decide to wreck that dam, it causes a flood. So that is a man-made flood. However, if we cut down forests and destroy topsoil, then when it rains, that water hits the hardened clay and can collect into streams and rivers rather quickly, rather than being absorbed by this sort of humus, and the sort of mosses in the forest that used to be there that would be like a sponge to the water, or the Great Plains and the prairies that used to be like a sponge. And so is that man-made or is that Mother Nature? Well, it's a combination of both, right? So heavy rainfall, but the landscape has been altered by man. So it's like kind of a hybrid there. And where does God fit in all of this? Like in the Bible, there's the oldest world story of like the world flood. So that was like commanded by God. And I love the sort of theories or the ideas of how that naturally happened. Like, how did the flood like originally happen? Not in a like mystical form, but in a like literal scientific form, with like the firmament holding water and that being busted and all of that. So recently, there's like this uptake and conspiracy theories over weather with the hurricanes in Florida, but never the hurricanes in Puerto Rico or Haiti, and then the recent fires in California. And what happens when we just say that's man-made, this is man-made, this is man-made? In that, I think we lose sight and connection with the earth. And I think it's vital, according to James Lovelock's theory of the Gaia theory. If you don't know about the Gaia theory, I suggest you research it and read on it. But he was a scientist that did multiple studies. He like took different disciplines of science and put them together. So chemistry and geography and like volcanism, like studying volcanoes, correlations with forests. And what he discovered and what scientists discovered was that the earth is like one big symbiotic organism that is regulating the temperature and regulating the chemistry of the earth to support like maximum life. And so when we deforest all of North America, it threw this little ice age into Europe, because there's like a counterbalancing that happens, right? So these things are like really valuable to me and important to scientists to like read. Like, it's the same thing if you're like to your own body, right? Like if you're getting a fever, right? Or you're starting to get a cough, which might be like volcanic activity. You're like, man, I've had the flu before, and this is like signs that I'm getting it. That is like what the earth is. It's a living organism. And so it's like super important to like know and be in tune with the signs, not even to be like biblical about it and like the signs of the times, but it's important to preserve natural weather phenomena and disasters. We call it disaster because it's like a human perspective, but it's important to maintain those signs as integral, or like the integrity of those things. Now, I did relief work in Haiti in 2010 after the tremblement de terre, after the earthquake. And when we arrived to Haiti, I was a 10-day responder, 10 days after the earthquake. There was like all of these rumors in Haiti about, oh, America did this. And for me and the relief workers, it was like very confusing. And like, don't get me wrong, like there's definitely like some quirkiness to the Haitian people, and sometimes you'll hear things or beliefs or perspectives, and it just doesn't make sense to the American mind. And that was like one thing that I was like, what the heck? And it was like a big rumor, and we're talking like within 14 days after the quake, people were rumoring like America did this. And when I asked some people like, what do you mean America did this? And they're like, we don't know, like maybe it was like a bomb or something. Fast forward to like 4 years later, I'm at my childhood friend's mother's house, and her good friend was in town from Canada. And, just average lady, wouldn't think much of her as far as like conspiracy or anything like that. And something kept telling me to like stay awake and chat with her. And so everyone's kind of going to bed, and me and her are visiting. So we're staying in guest rooms, and we stayed at this like dinner table and kept chatting. And then she dropped the word, the Matrix. And I was like, oh, hell, like, okay, this is what's up. So I was like, okay, the Matrix, like, what's going on there? And she began to tell me about this technology called HAARP, HAARP, I believe it's like that. And she says this weather control mechanism up in Alaska that the government has, etc. And I said, man, woman, like when I was in Haiti after this massive, it was like 8 point something earthquake, like everyone kept saying that America did it. And she explained to me that HAARP like shoots these like waves into the ionosphere, stratosphere or something like that, and heats up like the stratosphere atmosphere to a point where it lifts up and then like slaps down, so this like air pressure like can hit the crust of the earth or like beneath the crust of the earth, and like if there's any fault line it can like disrupt it. So I was like, whoa, okay, like weather control, Haitians intuitively, or whether they like caught word of it, speaking about America doing it. So this was like years ago, maybe 2012, 2013. So it's been like really fun and funny and interesting to see like weather control and natural disaster situations being believed to be man-made or government-made, like mainstreamed. So it's like, yeah, okay, I'm definitely prepared for this perspective. And I mean, even me, like being a naturalist and studying ecologies, certainly in the sort of Missouri region, Mississippi River region, the Missouri River region, the Ozarks, and reading a lot about California and Southern California. Just getting to understand like how weather and ecology is related, yet also being like super always skeptical of the government, and knowing that there's like manipulation that takes place on the earth, and certainly we're manipulating the earth to do and give us what we want it to. It's definitely like a man-made agenda laid on top of like the natural order of things. And so having like all of these different perspectives, I've had a lot of time to like parse them apart and understand like where do each of these perspectives fit in. Yeah, so in today's perspective, or the way that we're looking at things or interpreting things, it's like, where do all of these perspectives fit? How do they communicate to each other? Like what are we communicating when we say, oh, this hurricane was man-made and or supercharged by some man-made tool? And what does that like do? Like, let's think it all the way like through. And I just feel like it's like people want to like say stuff, but it's like, what are the implications when we say XYZ? So the fire in Maui, the fire in California, all fires in California, or like all hurricanes, like, no, there hasn't been a hurricane that has hit Florida that is actually just like produced from the mother. Like, it's produced from man. And I think that's so funny that in our like language we have like Mother Earth, right? And I shouldn't even say it lightly because mothers are strong and badass. So it's like we have Mother Earth, and then we have like man-made. And it's just like, are we taking credit? Is the patriarchy taking credit away from the mother? Like he always has? Probably so. My inclination is, yeah, like we're not gonna allow the mother to shine. Like we're not going to admit, like in this patriarchal like overlording, like we won't admit that Mother Nature is strong and badass and will wipe the fuck out of you and your town and all of your shit, right? We're gonna say, this is man-made because men are strong. And so surely if there's a massive fucking hurricane hitting Florida, a woman couldn't do that. That must be our government, our big bad military government supercharged the fucking hurricane. And like, just like, that's just how I feel about it. Like when I hear it initially, I'm just like, yeah, this is what that sounds like. Like, okay, I needed to get that rant out because that's like what I feel. That's my jerk gut reaction is this kind of big fat fucking eye roll at like the hurricane thing. And also like, no one's talking about hurricanes that hit fucking Puerto Rico or Haiti being like supercharged, like for some political agenda, right? It's like, no, those were natural. But like, anytime weather like enters the fucking air zone of the fucking United States of America, it's like automatically like, and like, just to be more direct, like it's not, we're not saying all the government, like this perspective, unfortunately, very unfortunately, is like it's not bipartisan, and that's what I think is really unfortunate here. Is like if we could have a collective conversation about manipulation of weather, but unfortunately, this is a Coke and Pepsi fucking society, and so it's like they're doing that and we wouldn't. And that's just like, it's the weakest shit ever. And if you're out there like on a Coke or Pepsi side saying they're doing it and we wouldn't, just, you're not helping anything at all. You're just not helping anything at all. Like, you're not helping at all. So if we want to approach weather control and like natural disasters from like a broad bipartisan perspective, it's like reveal some intellect. But if you want to limit and put things into a small box, it's like you're not really talking about weather control then. You're not really wanting to discuss the matter of, are disasters planted or are they supercharged? Like, that's a great conversation to have. So, moving on from that rant, I am just thinking about, like, when I initially heard this with the hurricane, taking credit away from Mother Earth, the danger that does, like I mentioned earlier, is like we have to have these signs, right? We have to have these thermometers that we can put into our body if we're feeling like a cold or something coming on, and we can like figure out, like, am I getting sick, right? That's just, we diagnose the whole planet Earth the same way we diagnose a body. Like, the Earth is a body, we are a body, it's the same thing. Cancers, you get it, you can correlate it, right? So like Southern California has fires. It's a dry place. It is a place that historically went from like really wet springs to really dry seasons. There was some explorer or like president, or a president sent out an explorer early United States era to California, and he arrived there like in their fall time. I guess it would have been like August. And he said, like, this land is no good. Like, you couldn't grow anything on it because it's just dry dirt. There's no plants or anything. And he went back to the White House, the Capitol, and reported that. And the United States of America did not fuck with California. until like years later, he or another person went back to California, and they arrived in spring, and the snow melt from the Sierras like turns the California Valley into this like green oasis with all of these plants and flowers and everything. So then he reported back like, this is such a fertile place, like it could grow the whole food for the continent or the our people, whatever. And so, California is this way. And if you know anything about like why fires exist, right? So it's like fires exist, like Colorado was like a big fireplace, and maybe it still is, but I remember like years ago, really when I was learning about wildfires and things like that. And so wildfires exist. I mean, like our big wildfires that we've experienced in modern time is because of controlled burn suppression. So before the Europeans arrived to North America, the Native American, the various American tribes and the peoples, the First Nations, the people of the land would prescribe burn, right? So they would light the prairies on fire to get rid of all of the like excess dry grasses. And in California and in Colorado, they would prescribe burn. Basically, you're clearing the land of like brush and fallen trees, because they kind of was like, I guess it was like the Native American version of like vacuuming the earth, or like sweeping, if you could like picture it like that. So it's like, we'll just light everything at the end of the season. So their fires were like, they like creepy crawled because there wasn't that much brush built up, right? So with the killing, the extermination, the genocide of the native people to this land, the Europeans did not continue to prescribe burn. And so what happened in the 1800s and the 1900s and this century and since then is that this brush has built up, and there's like crazy amounts of brush all over Colorado mountains, which is why they have those big wildfires. And similar to California, you have layers of brush that have been built up, and you just can't have brush when you are in a climate that gets very, very bone dry without water for a while, because that just is like gonna create a fire that's destructive. And so we definitely are to blame for like the mismanagement of land, rather like not prescribe burning frequently enough to where like flames could never get so strong or even have the fuel to get so strong to like catch a house on fire. Like, what kind of brush is going on that you're catching houses on fire, right? Now, I haven't looked at like the details of these like recent California fires, and I don't know if there's like who did it or how did it start, rather like someone flick a joint, was it a lightning strike, was it spontaneous combustion, but needless to say, the other issue is like water in Southern California, Arizona, Colorado. Like, the West is not sustainable. Like, we know that. It's like the West is not it's not water sustainable. Like, Phoenix is gonna like dry up. Like, they won't have water eventually. Southern California, like, there will be mass migrations away from these places because of water. And every like drop of water that humans are diverting from the Colorado River, like, there's this beautiful fucking delta. There's like the Baja Peninsula that comes off California, and then like Mexico's here, so the ocean like comes up here, and the Colorado River like comes down and like meets the ocean. But before it meets the ocean, it like kind of sprawls out. And it used to be this like massive wetland with all of these birds, supported bird life, and all of this like life. And because so much water has been diverted away from the Colorado River to irrigate and supply these cities in places where like they don't have fresh water, they don't have access to water. That whole like delta region on the earth is like dried up, and all the ecosystem, the birds, whatever, I can't think of its name, but like you definitely should watch a little documentary on it because it's really important and it's super cool. Like that this like mountain water, this snowfall way away in the mountains created this like near the ocean, this like huge wetland ecosystem that again doesn't exist anymore. So what Missourians and like what people in the Midwest and the East like don't get is like when you are dealing with the West, like when you're dealing with places where they don't have Missouri rivers and Ohio rivers and rainfall regularly and lakes and all this stuff, like it's a different ball game. Like it's not good, but we've managed to make it happen. But you know, so I guess in California, like Southern California, their idea of water and what they decide to do with it or don't do with it is extremely important. And it's not only, this is one of my points, it's not only important to humans, it's super important to nature, to creatures, to the ecosystem. And so one of my like aggravations with only or every time blaming natural disaster on a man-made thing and trying not to be political. I don't want to, but I have to. Because somebody said, who's about to enter into power, that they would turn the water on, right? So, you know, super disconnected from the ecology economy or the earth reality of that region, right? So yeah, you turn water on, and then what does that affect? Like there's not that many resources to go around. So, you know, without proper knowledge and mitigating the ecosystem and the environment, like, yeah, you could kill off like whole things. Or like, what does it look like to study and observe nature? And what like I think a primary point to this topic is like we want to point to isolated extreme weather events, natural disasters, and say that was like artificially created by a human tool or technology, but we don't simultaneously want to say, well, maybe also the way we've been behaving with the land and our like practices, our man-made practices of agriculture, deforestation, etc., has like altered the surfaces of the earth in different locations, which affects the chemistry, which affects temperature, and with the Gaia theory of James Lovelock, like it's all moving together. So you can't like deforest 90% of North America and not hundreds of years later expect to see some sort of like wonky behavior and the weather systems. It's just like that makes sense to me. But I know that people are like really short term and they're like thinking especially of history. So it's like they like shot a gun down and made like fires happen, which is like totally real and possible and probably did happen or didn't. But let's not let that thinking or those cool ideas that are really exciting to the senses and we can like weaponize politically and it's like rah rah rah, it's like so crazy right now. But like let's not allow those things to not sit beside a greater conversation or picture of like how did this weather get here and like what have we done, what man-made things and practices have we done over years that have accumulated to this being an intentional, that's for another video, long-term planned intentional weather modification, long-term man-made disasters. That's really intriguing. To think about lasers shooting down from the skies starting fires is like pretty basic bitch stuff, but You want to talk about long term, like why were 95% of the redwoods cut down? Why were they allowed to be cut down? And now they're not allowed to be cut down. Or this like mitigated. I have a theory on that.